At the airport, everything went sideways in under 5 minutes. One argument, one raised voice, and suddenly my parents and my sister did the unthinkable. They canceled my ticket and walked away, leaving me stranded in Europe like I was excess baggage. No boarding pass, no phone, no charger, no way to call anyone. Just the echo of rolling suitcases and my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. I stood there stunned, watching families hug goodbye, business travelers scroll calmly, life moving on while mine just stopped. Then I felt it, that sinking realization that this wasn't an accident. My sister had taken my phone earlier for photos. My mom had insisted on holding everyone's documents, and now they were gone, all of it, on purpose. That's when a man stepped out of the crowd. Tall, sharply dressed, the kind of presence that makes people instinctively move aside. He looked like money, old money, private jet money. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't even smile. He leaned in close, like he already knew me, and whispered, "Pretend you're my wife. My driver's pulling up." I froze. Before I could ask a single question, he added, quietly, almost casually, "Trust me, they'll regret this." Something in his tone made my stomach flip. Cold, certain, final. I had nothing left to lose, so I took his hand. As we walked away, my legs felt numb. The terminal lights blurred behind us. I didn't know his name. I didn't know where we were going. I only knew the people who were supposed to protect me had just erased me, and a complete stranger was offering an exit. In that moment, fear mixed with relief, and instinct screamed louder than logic. I followed him because staying meant being invisible forever. My name is Lena Carter. I'm 37 years old, and that day in a crowded European airport, my family thought they had broken me. They had no idea what they had just started. For real, though. They thought they'd left me shattered, like I'd fold, panic, call them crying, beg to be let back into the fold. But standing there under the fluorescent airport lights, watching my family disappear past security, something inside me snapped into place instead. If you've ever had the people who were supposed to protect you turn cold for their own benefit, you already know that feeling. Drop it in the comments. What would you have done if trust turned into abandonment in real time? I read every single one. The car eased into traffic, smooth as glass. Paris slid by outside the tinted windows, streetlights streaking into gold lines as my pulse slowly came down. I sat rigid in the back seat, hands locked around my carry-on like it was the last thing tethering me to reality. The driver didn't say a word, didn't need to. The man beside me stared straight ahead, jaw set, calm like this was just another Tuesday night. After a minute, he finally spoke. "Guess we should do introductions." His voice was steady, low, American with a faint East Coast edge. "Ethan Cole, 43. I run a private equity firm out of New York." I swallowed. "Lena Carter, 37. My voice surprised me, didn't shake. "And thanks for whatever this is." He glanced over, just briefly, not smiling, but not cold either. "I watched you at the counter. You weren't freaking out, you were trying to solve it. Most people melt down when they realize they've been cut loose." "I didn't have time to melt down," I said. "Security was already clocking me." He leaned back against the leather seat. "Exactly. You adapted." The car turned onto a quieter stretch of road, away from the terminal chaos. That's when he laid it out. No drama, no sales pitch. "In 10 days, I've got a charity gala in Manhattan. High profile, old school investors, board members who still think optics matter more than numbers. I need stability on display." I frowned. "And that involves me? How?" He met my eyes. "My wife passed 3 years ago. Public record. My half-brother's been using it to question my judgment, saying grief's made me reckless. He wants my seat. A visible partner shuts that noise down." I let that sink in. fake wife, temporary fix. So you grab a stranger at an airport? You handled pressure, he said again. That's rare. I don't need an actress. I need someone believable. The offer came next, just as clean. Private jet back to the States tonight, secure place to stay in Manhattan, 50 grand wired, no games, new phone, NDA on both sides, and help figuring out why my family ditched me like it was a premeditated move. That last part hit harder than the money. Why help me, I asked, if this is strictly business? He met my eyes. Because I don't like bullies, and because whatever they did back there wasn't impulsive, it was strategic. We pulled into a private terminal. A jet waited on the tarmac, lights glowing, engines humming like it was already impatient. I stared at it, heart thumping. One condition, I said. My name stays out of the press. I get veto power on the story. He didn't hesitate. Deal. We shook on it. Hours later, New York rose up out of the dark, steel and glass catching the first edge of dawn. A car met us on the runway, straight into the city. No small talk, no pressure. The penthouse was quiet, expansive, all clean lines and floor-to-ceiling windows. His housekeeper showed me to a guest suite, then disappeared without questions. Alone, I finally let the weight of the day settle. I stood at the window, watching the city wake up, exhaustion heavy, but something else flickering underneath it. For the first time since the airport, I wasn't reacting. I was choosing. Sleep didn't come easy, but when it did, it hit hard. Jet engines hummed like white noise, knocking me out somewhere over the Atlantic. By the time we touched down in New York, dawn was cracking the sky open, pale lights spilling between skyscrapers like the city was stretching awake. A black sedan rolled straight onto the tarmac. No terminal, no waiting, just motion. Manhattan swallowed us whole within minutes. The doorman at the building greeted Ethan by name. That alone told me this wasn't a one-off favor. This was his world. The private elevator climbed in silence, smooth and fast. When the doors opened, space hit me first. Glass everywhere, skyline views that made my chest tighten. The kind of place you only see in magazine spreads or Netflix docs about billionaires who never worry about rent. Get some rest, Ethan said quietly. We'll talk later. His housekeeper, Elena, showed me to a guest suite that felt more like a luxury hotel than a spare room. Crisp sheets, soft lighting, city humming far below like it couldn't touch me up here. As soon as the door closed, my legs finally gave out. I sat on the edge of the bed, breathing slow, grounding myself. That's when I saw the phone. Brand new, fully charged. No notifications, no missed calls, just clean slate energy. I picked it up and stared at the empty contact list for a second before adding the only number that mattered right now, my cousin Maya. She answered on the second ring. Lena? Oh my God, where the hell have you been? Your parents are losing it. I'm safe, I said. I'm in New York. There was a pause. Too long. That's not what they told me. My stomach tightened. What did they say? She exhaled. They said you had a breakdown at the airport, that the divorce finally caught up to you, that you were acting paranoid, accusing them of stuff, then stormed off. They're framing it like you're not thinking clearly. My hand clenched around the phone. They canceled my ticket, took my phone, walked away. I believe you, quickly, but listen, there's more. Your mom mentioned talking to a lawyer, something about protecting you from yourself. The words landed cold. Protecting me? How? Temporary conservatorship. What? They're zeroing in on the condo, she said, the one your grandparents left you. They're saying if you're unstable, someone needs to manage it before you make bad decisions. The condo. My chest burned. 2 bedrooms, prime location, fully paid off. The one thing my grandparents had insisted stay solely in my name because they knew I'd earned it, worth millions now. This isn't concern, I said slowly. This is a grab. Yes, Maya said. They're collecting emails, old texts, doctor visits for anxiety after the divorce. They're building a narrative. Anger pushed past the shock. Send me everything. My phone buzzed immediately. Screenshots, drafts, bullet-pointed concerns. It was clinical, calculated, not worried parents, strategists. I ended the call and stared at the evidence until my hands steadied. Then I went downstairs. Ethan was in a glass-walled office, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, scanning documents. I didn't knock. "We've got a problem." He looked up once, took in my expression, and gestured for me to continue. "They're filing for conservatorship," I said, sliding the phone across the desk, using my divorce stress to claim I can't manage my own assets. His jaw tightened as he scrolled. "This isn't amateur," he said. "In New York, adult conservatorships are rare, but not impossible. Framing it as mental health concern instead of disappearance is smart, harder to dismiss." "So what do we do?" He didn't hesitate. "We move first. I'll call my attorney. Asset protection. Aggressive." An hour later, Martin Cole walked in, mid-50s, sharp suit, eyes that missed nothing. He reviewed the evidence silently, tapping notes into a tablet. "They're laying groundwork," he said, "but it's thin. No diagnosis, no recent incidents. We counter with proof of competence, financial records, medical evaluation if needed. I'll draft opposition tonight." Ethan leaned back. "My brother's doing something similar to me," admitted, "questioning my judgment post-loss, so we're both exposed." That mattered. He wasn't untouchable. He was fighting too. Back in the guest suite, I opened the laptop Elena had left. I pulled up New York guardianship law, reading until the language stopped intimidating me. Petitions, hearings, evaluators. Waiting wasn't an option anymore. For years, I'd smoothed things over, kept the peace, let my family steer decisions because it was easier than pushing back. Not this time. I stared out at the city, something hard and clear settling in my chest. They thought leaving me alone would make me fold. They had no idea they'd finally forced me to stand up. The gala prep started the next morning, and it didn't ease in, it slammed forward. By 9 a.m., Ethan's penthouse conference room looked like a command center. Laptops open, coffee everywhere, vendor contracts spread across the table like battle maps. People spoke fast, clipped, confident. This wasn't charity for feel-good photos. This was business dressed in tuxedos. I took a seat near the end, planning to stay quiet, observe, learn the terrain. Didn't last long. The lead coordinator was walking everyone through the program timeline when something felt off. Two keynote speakers stacked too close together, both known to run long. A delayed auction would domino the entire evening. "Mind if I jump in?" I asked. The room paused. Ethan glanced at me once, neutral. The coordinator slid the schedule toward me without comment. I scanned it fast. These two speeches can't be back-to-back. Push the auction earlier, before dinner. It wakes people up, loosens wallets. You'll get higher bids while energy's high. A beat, then a nod. That actually makes sense. From there, it snowballed. I flagged seating placements that would have put rival developers elbow to elbow, rearranged them so potential partners sat close, friction spread out. Adjusted flow through the reception space to avoid bottlenecks near the bar. No grandstanding, just clean fixes. By the end of the meeting, people were looking at me when decisions stalled. Ethan noticed. He didn't comment, just listened. Later that afternoon, a sponsor email came in. Polite, cautious, laced with doubt. Whispers about Ethan's stability, hesitation about final commitment. "Can I see that?" I asked. I rewrote the response in 10 minutes, acknowledged their history, addressed concerns without defensiveness, anchored everything in numbers and upcoming projections. No emotion, no ego. They increased their pledge within hours. Ethan pulled me aside afterward. "You're making yourself essential." "Good," I said. "I didn't come here to play arm candy." That night, the rehearsals began. Public appearances, mock walk-ins, fake small talk with imaginary reporters. Our cover story, meeting years ago at a Chicago conference, felt stiff at first. Too polished, I said after one run-through. People smell that. Make it messier. He frowned. Messy how? You complained about bad coffee. I joked about surviving on vending machines. Shared annoyance builds trust. He tried it again, added a bit about spilling espresso on his notes. It landed, even made him laugh, short, surprised. Deadlines tightened, vendors panicked, a florist threatened delays. I handled it. A caterer freaked out over last-minute dietary changes. I smoothed it. Ethan deferred without fuss. Trust shifted quietly. The night before the gala, I did a solo walkthrough of the venue. Every sign, every light cue, every contingency. When I got back to the penthouse, Elena had laid out the dress. Navy silk, clean lines, no flash, all presence. I caught my reflection. I didn't look like someone who'd been abandoned at an airport. I looked like someone in control. The ballroom buzzed the next evening. Crystal chandeliers, string quartet, cameras flashing at the step-and-repeat. Ethan's hand rested lightly at my back as we moved through the crowd, practiced but natural. Halfway through cocktails, his phone buzzed. Tabloid alert. Old rumors resurfaced, sources close to the company, questioning judgment. Timing was surgical. The PR response went out immediately. It helped, but whispers spread. One key investor from Texas pulled back, conversation cooling fast. I watched the body language. Crossed arms, avoided eye contact. I crossed the room. Mr. Reynolds, I said, extending a hand. Lena Cole. I've been coordinating the event, but I'm also involved in the project details. We talked numbers. I showed him projections, preloaded, precise, corrections already in motion, risk mitigated. These aren't public, he said. Not yet, I replied, but they're real. He studied the data, then nodded slowly. Let's talk after the auction. By dessert, the contract was signed. Tighter terms, sure, but closed. In the car afterward, Ethan exhaled hard. Nathan timed that hit perfectly. He'll use it. But the deal went through, I said. Because of you. City lights streaked past. The silence felt different now. He turned to me. I need something stronger, something that shuts this down completely. I already knew what he was about to say. He didn't rush it. Ethan stared out the window for a long second, city lights washing over his face, then turned fully toward me. Marry me, on paper, 1 year. The words landed heavy, but not shocking. Calculated, clinical, a move, not a proposal. It creates undeniable stability, he continued. Boards respect it. Courts respect it. No more whispers about isolation or grief clouding judgment. It buys me time, and it protects you, too. I didn't answer right away. I thought about my parents' drafts, the conservatorship language, how quickly concern had turned into control. Terms? I asked. 300,000, he said. Continued role in projects, full legal protection of your assets, exit clause, anytime, no questions. And my public image, I added. I control the narrative, what's said, what isn't. He nodded. Agreed. And the name, I said. I decide whether I keep it or not. A beat. Then, all of it. We signed at City Hall 3 days later. Fluorescent lights, 2 witnesses, no romance, no speeches, just ink and intention. When I folded the certificate and slipped it into my bag, something settled. This wasn't rescue, it was armor. The move to the Hamptons followed fast. Privacy, distance, breathing room while the fallout brewed. The house sat back from the water, modern glass and quiet power. From there, my role shifted again, no longer temporary. Ethan pulled me into strategy sessions for a coastal resort development. I dove into market reports, flagged demand gaps, pushed for wellness expansions, spa, yoga pavilions, off-season revenue boosts. He listened. Design meetings followed. I argued for flow, seamless transitions, no choke points. Clients notice friction even when they can't name it. Martin called with updates. Your family filed preliminary papers, thin but enough to trigger a hearing. I didn't panic. I gathered evidence, performance records, testimonials, sent them in clean packets. Ethan's brother escalated too. Same playbook, different target. Late nights blurred together, documents spread across the dining table, Ocean crashing outside while we cross-checked arguments. One night, Ethan finally admitted it. Grief did mess with me, he said quietly. I rushed that deal, ignored red flags because staying busy felt easier than sitting alone. I slid a revised timeline toward him, then show recovery, fixes, safeguards, turn the story. He did. The trust between us wasn't emotional, it was earned. Then Martin's call came through on speaker. They know about the marriage. Flights are booked. They're coming to talk sense into her. The doorbell rang the next morning, sharp, insistent. I walked to the foyer alone. My parents stepped in first. No hugs, no warmth, just tension. You've gone too far, my father said. Marrying a stranger, hiding out here. We're trying to help, my mother added. Your mental health. By filing for conservatorship, I cut in. Silence. Martin laid out the facts. Lack of evidence, cherry-picked emails, twisted concern. My mother flushed. He's manipulating you. No, I said evenly. You are. My father stepped closer. We raised you. And you abandoned me at the airport, took my phone, my passport, canceled my ticket. My sister finally spoke, voice small. We thought you'd come back. I didn't, and now it's over. They offered a deal, drop the filing if I signed over management of the condo. I countered, withdraw immediately, public acknowledgement, or I sue. I said, try me, when they scoffed. They left without agreement. The door closed. The silence felt clean. Martin filed the countermotion that afternoon. Weeks later, the ruling came down. Petition dismissed. Judge noted property motivation over welfare concern. No penalties, but the record was public. Whispers followed them. Invitations dried up. Standing collapsed. I kept moving. The court decision didn't explode like a headline. It didn't need to. It moved quietly, efficiently, just like everything else that actually mattered. Martin's counter-evidence did its job. Medical records, financial history, independent evaluations, affidavits from colleagues who trusted me with 6- and 7-figure budgets without blinking. The judge didn't hesitate. There is insufficient basis for guardianship under New York law, she said, voice flat, unimpressed. The filing appears motivated more by property concerns than genuine welfare. Dismissed. Clean. Final. No penalties, sure, but the words lived on in public record, and that was enough. The fallout spread the way truth usually does, slowly at first, then all at once. Old family friends stopped calling my parents back. Invitations to community events dried up. People who once smiled politely now avoided eye contact. My sister's professional circle shifted too. Nothing dramatic, just subtle distance, raised eyebrows, conversations that ended early. They lost leverage. Permanently. I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. I just moved forward. The contract marriage ended exactly on schedule. 1 year. No drama, no disputes. Martin filed the dissolution paperwork. Airtight. I kept control over my name, my image, my assets. The protection lingered even after the paperwork faded. Ethan won his fight too. The board reviews accepted the period of stability as proof against ongoing claims of incapacity. His brother's challenge collapsed under scrutiny, leaving him sidelined, not destroyed, just neutralized. We parted without speeches. No lingering romance, just mutual respect. Occasional check-ins, professional distance. Survival had turned into partnership. Partnership had done its job. With the pressure gone, I poured everything into building my own firm. Event planning. High stakes, high discretion. Referrals from the gala came in fast. Corporate launches, nonprofit fundraisers. Private clients who cared less about flash and more about execution. Momentum built quickly. The condo became dual purpose. Office downstairs, living space above. Renovated to reflect me. Clean lines, open layout, light everywhere. No clutter, no excess. Success felt different this time. Not borrowed, not rescued. Earned. One evening, months later, an email popped up. Subject line, "I'm sorry." My sister. She wrote about guilt, about realizing too late how silence became permission, how she should have spoken up, how she hoped we could talk someday. I read it twice, then closed it. Some bridges don't need rebuilding to prove you've crossed the river. The firm's first flagship event unfolded on the Hamptons coast a year later. Waterfront venue, hundreds of guests. Everything ran on time. No hiccups, no chaos. Just smooth execution and quiet admiration. I stepped outside during a lull. Ocean breeze, waves rolling steady under a sky fading gold. Family trust can fracture beyond repair. That doesn't mean you're broken. Walking away wasn't loss, it was clarity. Freedom from obligation disguised as love. The ability to choose people who choose you back, without leverage, without conditions. I stood there longer than necessary, breathing in the salt air, feeling grounded in a way I never had before. They thought abandoning me would make me smaller. Instead, it stripped away everything that wasn't mine to carry. And that was the real turning point. Years later, people still ask me if I regret how it ended, if I ever wish I'd handled it softer, if cutting ties so cleanly ever felt too harsh. I usually smile and change the subject, because the truth isn't dramatic, it's simple. Peace doesn't come from keeping everyone happy, it comes from knowing where you stand. Standing on the terrace that evening, watching guests laugh and mingle below, I realized how far I'd come from that airport floor where my life had stalled under fluorescent lights. Back then, I thought abandonment meant failure, that being left behind meant I wasn't worth choosing. I was wrong. What they did didn't expose my weakness, it exposed their strategy. And once you see that clearly, you stop internalizing other people's fear. The firm grew steadily after that first year. Not viral, not flashy, just solid. Repeat clients, quiet referrals, the kind of success that doesn't need validation. I hired slowly, trusted carefully, built systems that didn't rely on chaos or overwork. Every contract I signed, every event I executed, reinforced one truth. Competence is louder than accusation. Consistency outlasts manipulation. I still live in the city, still walk past that condo lobby some mornings, coffee in hand, keys heavy and real in my pocket. Not because I need to prove anything, but because I earned the right to be there without permission. I don't hear from my parents anymore. Occasionally I hear about them, second-hand updates, faded relevance. It doesn't sting. Distance did what confrontation never could. It clarified everything. The man who pulled me out of the airport drifted back into his own world, and I into mine. We weren't meant to stay intertwined. We were meant to intersect, change trajectory, and keep moving. That's how real turning points work. They don't announce themselves. They don't ask for approval. They just shift the ground beneath your feet. If betrayal taught me anything, it's this. Being abandoned doesn't end your story. Sometimes it finally starts it, on terms you choose, with boundaries that hold, and a life that doesn't collapse the moment someone walks away. Some people leave to control you. Others leave because they can't anymore. And learning the difference? That's freedom. They didn't spiral overnight. It happened slowly, quietly. The kind of downfall no one posts about. People stopped returning calls. Invitations thinned out. Conversations went polite, then distant. The social standing my parents once leaned on like currency lost its shine when the truth settled in. Not loudly, just enough that everyone knew something was off. They no longer had leverage over me, or my home, or my future. The condo stayed mine, every inch of it, untouched, unmanaged by anyone else's concern. One evening, an email slid into my inbox. Subject line, "I'm sorry." My sister wrote about guilt, about realizing too late how staying silent became permission, about nights she couldn't sleep replaying the airport, the walkaway, the choice she didn't make. I read it twice, then closed it. Some doors don't need slamming. Closing them quietly is enough. The arrangement that protected me ended exactly as planned. Clean paperwork, no drama, no messy headlines. I walked away with my name, my assets, and my autonomy intact. The protection did its job and faded, the way all good safeguards should once the danger passes. He won his fight too. The stability our arrangement created did exactly what it was meant to do. Boards backed off, legal threats collapsed. The narrative shifted. We didn't walk away as lovers or saviors, just two people who intersected at the right moment and left stronger for it. From there, everything I built was mine. The firm grew fast, but steady. Not flashy growth, real growth. The kind that comes from people trusting you with pressure, corporate launches, private events, clients who cared more about execution than optics. The condo became dual purpose, work downstairs, life upstairs. Open space, clean lines, light everywhere. No clutter, no chaos. Success didn't feel borrowed anymore. It felt earned. We crossed paths once later, barefoot on a quiet beach after a project wrap. Easy conversation, mutual respect. "You built something solid," he said. I nodded. So did you. No tension, no nostalgia, just acknowledgement. Standing alone later that night, ocean air cutting cool against my skin, I understood something clearly for the first time. Family trust can break beyond repair, and that doesn't make you weak, it makes you free. Self-worth isn't inherited, it's claimed. Walking away isn't failure when staying means losing yourself. Sometimes the bravest thing you do is stop negotiating your peace, stop explaining your boundaries, stop waiting for permission to protect what's yours. Some people leave because they think you'll crumble. Others leave because they realize you won't. And learning the difference, that's when your life actually begins.